Ever wondered about the lesser-known heroes of Noah's Ark? Shem, Ham, and Japheth, the sons of Noah, are often talked about. But what about their wives, who stood as pillars of strength and resilience beside their husbands? They played a crucial role in repopulating the world after the catastrophic flood that reshaped our world. But how did these women cope with the horrors of a world submerged? What kept their spirits alive during the endless days and nights on the Ark? And perhaps most intriguingly, what legacies did they leave behind, echoing through generations? Join us as we embark on an expedition through time, unearthing the layers of history that reveal the astonishing lives of these matriarchs. Sedekatelebab. The Book of Jubilees gives us a peek into Shem's wife's Sedekatelebab. She's the one who's said to be connected to the beginnings of Semitic people, those early communities with shared languages and cultures. Now, according to an old text called the Book of Jubilees, Sedekatelebab had quite the life. She lived for a super long time, centuries even, after the big flood. Imagine all the things she saw. She and Shem had lots of kids, sons and daughters. She was a prophetess too, sharing messages from God in Mesopotamia and with her kids and future generations. Some really old stories from Christian traditions talk about this too. They mention this special book called a Targum, kind of like a version of the Bible that talks about Shem and Sedekatelebab, but with different names. Sedekatelebab and Shem had grandkids, and some of them were quite important in history. They had a son named Aram, and his sons Uz, Hul, Geter, and Meshech were part of their family tree too. Sedekatelebab is like the founding mom of many groups in ancient times. She's seen as the matriarch, which is like the great-great-great-grandma of many ancient people. Elamites, Chaldeans, Arameans, and even Assyrians. So, Sedekatelebab's family had quite an impact on shaping the ancient world. Now, where Sedekatelebab came from is a bit of a mystery. Some think she might be related to Cain or maybe a mix of different family lines. Others say she could be from Seth's family, but that's still a debated topic. In the end, Sedekatelebab is a key character in a story that shapes civilizations, languages, and cultures. She's like a window into ancient times, connecting us to a world full of mysteries and surprises. Enel Tamauk. All right, let's delve into the world of Ham, Noah's youngest son, and his wife, a key player in the lineage of African and South Indian peoples. As per the ancient Book of Jubilees, Ham's wife is known as Nael Tamauk. Her significance stems from her connections to the origins of these diverse groups. Nael Tamauk's historical impact is truly diverse. She's the mother of significant groups like the Cushites in Africa, Canaanites, and Egyptians. Her lineage connects regions like Sudan, Ethiopia, Eritrea, and Somalia. Cush, her son, is tied to ancient Ethiopians and Nubians. Remarkably, the Dravidians of South India are part of her family story. In those times, people lived for centuries, 600 or 700 years. Nael Tamauk was one of those ancient longlifers, possibly even outliving her husband, Ham. She passed on her prophecy gift to future generations. Stories from the past, shared by Christian Saint Hippolytus, resonate with Jubilee's account. One intriguing legend tells of the time when the Great Flood was about to begin. Noah was instructed to punish whoever spoke of it first. In an unexpected turn, Nael Tamauk was baking bread when water suddenly spilt from her oven, ruining the bread. Witnessing this, she exclaimed that the flood had begun. Yet God changed his plan, sparing her from punishment because she was destined to survive the flood. This tale parallels Abraham and Isaac's story, where God tests faith through challenging situations involving loved ones, a date and nieces. All right, now let's dive into the story of Japheth's wife, the lady who's connected to the origins of Indo-European and Asiatic peoples. According to the Old Book of Jubilees, her name is Adataneses. Now, Adataneses lived for a super long time, way before the big flood. Back then, people lived much longer lives, so she got to see a lot. Like her sisters-in-law, she had a special gift for seeing the future, which makes her a prophetess. She and Japheth had lots of kids, 7 sons, and many daughters too. You might know some of their names like Gomer, Magog, and Javan. And they had grandkids too, like Elisa, Tarshish, Chittim, and Dodanim. All these kids and grandkids spread out over time, forming different groups of people and even whole nations. For example, the Chinese, who are descendants of Japheth's grandson Togarma, became a huge population. They're not alone. The Chinese, Mongolians, Japanese, Koreans all have ties to Adataneses and Japheth's family. She's considered the ancestral mom of the Gomerites, who are like ancient Sumerians. And these guys split into 3 groups. Togarma's descendants became the Chinese, Mongolian, Japanese, and Korean people. Riphat's descendants became the Celtic bunch, and Ashkenaz's descendants turned into Vikings, Germans, and Slavs. Even the native people of the Americas and Russia are connected to Adatanese's and Japheth's story. So what are your thoughts on these remarkable figures? Share your thoughts in the comments below.